Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ambassador's Lounge. Today we are going to talk about a subject which is of extreme import, not only for Pakistan, but for the whole region and the wider world. And that is, we all know that Iran and United States, along with Israel, they have come to terms finally to cease fire for at least 2 weeks, which was mediated by Pakistan. And there is every likelihood, the way the things are moving right now, it appears that this ceasefire will transform into a total abstention from hostilities by all the warring parties. Now, one thing which is clear from this battle or war that has happened for the last 2 weeks or so is that the existing security architecture of the Middle East, of the region, is certainly dismantling, or it has dismantled already. Now, how the things will shape up once the peace has been restored, how the states in the Gulf region particularly, along with Iran, will defend their own territories, their own interests, both political, ideological, and economic. Today we are going to talk about this subject as to how the new Middle East would look like after the ceasefire has been extended to an indefinite period, and both Israel, United States, and Iran, they have come to terms for a longer sustainable peace in the region. I'm joined for this discussion by Ambassador Amjad Sher, who has been our Consul General to Dubai and is fairly conversant with the internal dynamics of United Arab Emirates and the region, and also Ambassador Salik, who has served in the Middle East in Oman and subsequently in Sana'a, Yemen. These two gentlemen, these two colleagues of mine, they have quite deep knowledge of the dynamics and the internal situation of their respective countries that they have served in, but also of the region itself. So welcome, gentlemen, to this discussion.
Thank you.
Amjad, as I said, that it is being said that the existing security architecture has already dismantled. Would you like to please inform our viewers as to what was the existing architecture in the Middle East?
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ayaz. As you know that all the Gulf countries, GCC 6 countries had the bases, naval bases, air bases, and military bases, the American bases, in all these countries and even in Saudi Arabia. And it was supposed to provide defense and security in case of any foreign attack. During this war, now these security arrangements provided by the US has been shattered, and now there is a realization that all this security arrangement was just an illusion. It was not more than that. And now the Gulf countries have realized that instead of having security arrangements with the United States of America, now they have got two options: either to have a security arrangement with a country which is in the region, and secondly, all the GCC countries must have a NATO-like alliance for security. Now they are seriously working on it. So Saudi Arabia, way back in 1979, when there was an invasion on Mecca, they had some kind of arrangement with Pakistan, and there were Pakistani military personnel there to vacate Mecca from those invaders. Since then, so Pakistan has already based its forces over there, around 10,000 in Saudi Arabia for the security. And even in the Yemen war and the Gulf war, there was also this kind of arrangement. But recently, the current prime minister, the current government, had a formal agreement, defense agreement with Saudi Arabia. And now there are news that Pakistan has already dispatched around 13,000 military personnel and some 18 aircrafts to Saudi Arabia. And King Abdul Aziz Air Base has been vacated by the US, and now the Pakistani forces have taken over.
Am I right to say that what you are saying is that it was a transactional thing, it was a transactional arrangement in the architecture where more resourceful countries, they were doling out, or they were giving heavy amounts of money to the external guarantors against a single rival, that was Iran. Now, Salik, now Iran...
I would say that this was not a transactional. This was obviously a secured and obviously an absolute security arrangement by which the United States of America had ensured them. But United States of America failed. Why Iran was attacking these countries? Because these bases were used by the Americans against Iran. Otherwise, Iran had nothing to do with the Gulf countries to attack them.
Okay. Well, Salik, the existing architecture in the Middle East was marked by mutual rivalries as well. Saudi Arabia and UAE, UAE and Qatar, and Saudi Arabia and Qatar, etc. Now, there was an internal competition going on within the GCC countries, but they were united at least on one front, and that was to counter Iran's growing threat, particularly its pursuit of nuclear weapons. Now, once Iran has been decapitated to an extent, and what we are hearing is that the new arrangement, would also ensure by Israel, if I may say, US and Israel, that Iran would forego for a long, long time to come its pursuit of nuclear weapons, and will be allowed only to use highly enriched uranium, pursue new civilian purposes, its nuclear program. Now, how do you see that once Iran has been decapitated, how the Middle Eastern countries, particularly the Gulf countries, would deal with each other, as far as their security concerns, kept in view?
Let me first of all begin with your initial remarks, in which you said that the previous architecture which was in place has dismantled, supported by Ambassador Mohammed, that it has shattered. Yes, as far as the existing defense architecture between GCC and the United States plus European Union and other European countries is concerned, has got a big blow, but it has not dismantled completely. One. Secondly, in the near future, it is not going to completely, give space to some other countries. Yes, it has opened a clear, this thing for the GCC countries to rethink that instead of having a very expensive defense architecture, which was very, conveniently, defeated by the drones and other very cheap, defense system by Iran, has really opened new avenues of thought between Iran as well as among the GCC countries. The GCC countries, secondly, have more suspicious relations with each other.
Yep.
We have to see why this GCC has set up. After the revolution in Iran in 1979, which was later on the Iran-Iraq war, it basically supported created an idea among the GCC countries to have their own system. That GCC countries over the period in the last 45 years have not been able to devise a strong defense system. They paid a lot of money, but the results
and overcome their differences also.
Yeah, they have their own differences as well. And since they have more suspicious relations with each other, there is every likelihood that in future their relationship with the United States and the European countries would continue, though they have got a big blow in the present situation. And in the post this ceasefire situation, if it comes into into place, and this entire region has stability, then of course there would be a situation where the GCC countries would think that they should. You must have heard the Saudi foreign minister's statement, which indicated that they are thinking on these lines to have, new defense, friends in the region. And in that case, I think that Pakistan and the other regional countries like Turkey and Egypt and many other regional countries are likely to play important role. But as far as role of the United States is concerned, it is not going to vanish immediately. It will remain for I would say in a short term.
But Salik, if I may interject here, you see, United States, credibility in this war has been greatly eroded because Gulf countries, rich Gulf countries, they invested a lot in American weapon system. They provided bases to American forces there, thinking that in any case, when the chips are really down, then United States will come to their rescue. And what we have seen is that Iran was hitting various installations inside the Gulf countries, at will. So the amount of confidence that these countries had in United States support or backing has been eroded now. How do you think that, what would be the role of United States as a guarantor of peace in the region, in the post-settlement era?
United States must have received a big blow in terms of its influence in the world, but it has not gone. United States is not going anywhere. United States will remain in the region. United States will remain influential in the world affairs. United States is still one of the superpowers. United States, yes, please listen to me, and then you can say whatever you like. United States is not going anywhere. United States, if you are one of the Gulf countries' ruler, whom you would depend more, United States or any other power? Is there any other alternative in your mind?
Amjad, Middle East has been a really testing ground for United States. Many presidents in the past, they ventured, into Middle East. We know what happened in 1991-92, when Iraq invaded Kuwait and a coalition force launched attacks against Iraq and vacated Kuwait. Then they came back, in 2003 with a lot of fanfare on spurious claims that Iraq was hiding weapons of mass destruction, which was proven to be false completely. This all had redounded on the US presidents who ventured. Mr. Trump has also burnt his fingers, by launching a full-scale war against Iran. Now, do you think that what Salik is saying, that United States will continue to be a guarantor, in the Gulf countries trust the security guarantees of United States in future?
War, the United States of America, which had provided foolproof security to the Gulf states, and the Gulf states were expecting that the United States would fight for them, the United States failed. It did not happen, and that's why the United States has lost its trust amongst the Gulf countries. And Saudi Arabia is the first country to at least diversify its security and defense arrangement and enter with Pakistan in a security defense. There is every possibility that other Gulf countries might also follow suit. The other thing is that during the Iran-Iraq war, all these countries, and GCC was also created after the start of the Iran-Iraq war. And the GCC countries, it is not an economic, although it has been apparently given the shape and the face of a security economic council, but it is basically a security council against Iran. So in the United States, they were providing the funds, and the United States were providing the weapons against Iran. And finally, after 8 years, Iran didn't fail, didn't lose the war, and then the war came to an end, but after a long devastation and destruction. But now, at this point of time, the Gulf countries definitely have a second thought of security arrangement. And that was, as Ambassador Abdul Salih Khan stated, that Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, these are the four major countries, and also having large, armies and large population, they might form a kind of
do you think that it's possible?
They might, I'm saying that.
Well, there was a talk that, Middle East NATO, or Gulf NATO will also be formed, but it could not materialize because of
Iran. May I add to what?
Sure.
The GCC's creation was basically against Iran, as I said in the beginning. What have they done in the last 45 years?
Nothing, except it was a talk shop.
No major achievement.
Nothing.
When you compare the GCC with the European Union, their successes are far less as compared to the European Union.
Absolutely.
Right? In that case, and we are talking about, the role in future which is going to be played by Pakistan, Egypt, and Turkey. We may have a very, very small role in the entire, affairs.
Really?
Major role, as I foresee, will remain of the United States and its allies.
Okay.
Why? Because of their influence and because of their powers which they enjoy.
Okay.
Second, the defense architecture, or whatever architecture or security architecture which is going to succeed, will only be a successful arrangement if Iran is part of that.
Okay. Right.
If Iran is part of any future architecture, security architecture, in which the regional countries, the GCC countries plus Iran plus Pakistan, Turkey and other, if they collectively, play some role, then of course they may save the region from the outer influence.
Are you saying that after all this death and devastation that Iran has undergone, all these during these days, Iran would emerge not as a threat to the Arab Gulf countries, but as a partner in the new architecture?
And vice versa.
Will they embrace Iran, as
Iran should not consider the GCC countries are enemies countries. Similarly, the GCC countries and the other, regional countries should not consider Iran as an enemy country, unless and until
after all those missiles and everything has been fired on them.
Unless and until this kind of understanding develops, which of course will not develop in few days or few months, it will take years to develop. And do you think that those who are already influencing the entire region positively or negatively would allow the GCC countries or Iran to enter into any kind of arrangement? I doubt.
Well, there will be a spoilers, of course. Yeah, please.
The Iranian Revolution in 1979 was seen as a threat to the monarchies in the Gulf.
Sure.
And you might have seen that there was statement from the leadership in Iran emanating that they are going to also change the face of the Middle East monarchies and the governments. But later Iran had a common sense and then they stopped issuing this kind of statements. But as Ambassador Abdul Salih Khan stated that if there is any future security arrangement, Iran must be part of it. The Gulf countries would never want Iran to be part of any security.
Well, he has his own views,
But I'm just saying that this is my perception. This is my, that if Iran is not part of any of this thing, you will not be secure.
Okay. Let's move on to another interesting point that I want to raise with you two gentlemen, and would like to have your considered views on that. You see, what is being said is that the post-World War II order is falling apart again, okay? And the responsibility, the onus lies squarely on the United States itself, because it was the architect of post-World War II, world order, and it is now Mr. Trump who is determined to do away with it. Now, I don't know if you gentlemen have heard about Pax Hebraica. Pax Hebraica, if I may say, it is an idea propounded by the Israelis that it would be Israel, its military might, its technological advancement, its influence in the region, which will become the hub and the spoke kind of arrangement where Israel will become the center of gravity. And after Iran's devastation, when Iran has been decapitated and will take a long time for it to really reconstruct itself and emerge as some kind of military potent power, during which period United States is tacitly promoting this Pax Hebraica, that is the peace through a dominant country, a dominant force, i.e. Israel, and the other regional countries will surround it, come into its sphere of influence. And we have also seen that, Mr. Netanyahu has made no bones about it, that he's pursuing the ideal of a larger, greater Middle East, and he has, and just today, Israel Katz, their defense minister, he said that the south of Lebanon, the 10-mile area that they have occupied in Lebanon will never be vacated, will not be vacated. So how do you think that, do you think that Arab countries will rally around Israel, and will accept it as the dominant force, and Israel will be the guarantor of peace in the Middle East?
Well, this could be a dream for the visionaries, people who have given this kind of statements, or if it is their vision. And if you look at the flag of Israel, there are two blue stripes on the white, background that shows the river Nile and Euphrates, and in between the star is the land of Greater Israel, which starts from Egypt up to the Euphrates in Iraq. So that could be a dream. I don't think so, although this is a mistake and blunder by some GCC countries like UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and maybe Qatar, to establish some kind of diplomatic relations with Israel in the hope that they would live in peace. After this, I think this is also a blunder. They would never live in peace. Israel has its own agenda of a greater Israel, and that is the reason why Saudi Arabia is also not now agreeing to have diplomatic relation with the
Okay.
What are Abraham Accords?
Yeah, it's an alignment, of
Are
course.
the same,
But Saudi Arabia has not signed it yet,
Whether Saudi Arabia has signed it or not, or they are thinking to sign it in future, that we do not know, because all these countries which we are talking about, the GCC, they are either sheikdoms or monarchs. So the view of the people are not matter. They do not matter in their system. So how can we say that whatever they will decide, that will be in accordance with the wishes and aspirations of the people of that region?
Okay.
So when we compare it with the people of Iran, there you have the voice of the people. Whatever, when they talk about something, when there's something, they have the view of the people of Iran. In case of these countries, it is entirely different. So as far as Israel is concerned, Israel is important, very, very important, and will remain important because it has support of the United States.
Sure.
How long it will continue to have
enjoy
US
support,
and how much, that depends on the future decision of the people of United States.
We are talking about immediate post-war arrangement, Salik. Not in long terms. I mean, what do you think? Is it going to happen or not? Will Arab countries rally around Israel, and accept its
short
strategic
term,
superiority?
Not all the countries.
I don't think so.
We don't think so.
Never.
On what basis are you saying
The
it?
thing is that the Gulf countries, these monarchies, they are family monarchies, and they are not going to leave their support like this, and they are not going to be subjugated by Israel, obviously, and there is also going to be a kind of revolt against them. If they reach or enter into such kind of arrangement to be subjugated by Israel, and Israel is going to dictate them. No, this is not going to happen. And even if it happens, then the surrounding countries like Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, and other. Now, Turkey has also developed some kind of, differences and some kind of enmity with Israel. Although Turkey,
during this war, of course, certainly, yes.
Back in 1949, the first Muslim country to recognize Israel.
But it is being said that Saudi oil was being transferred, was being shipped to Israel all this time, because Israel really did not feel any dearth of oil or gas, because it was being shipped to first Turkey, and from Turkey it was being redirected towards Haifa. What do you say about that?
There could be these kind of reports on social media, but anyway, the thing is, and one thing more is that the Gulf countries, especially UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar, they used to be called the land of opportunities for foreign investors. That image has been shattered greatly, and it would be very difficult for them. And I would like to repeat the statement of Henry Kissinger after 9/11, that the world would never be again the same. So
but Amjad, it is also being said, and by serious analysts, in many countries, that once the confidence as a safe haven in rich Arabian countries, particularly UAE or let's say Dubai, where you have served, has been shattered, and people are disinvesting from them. Then it was a design. It was a design of Israel that they wanted to attack Iranian sensitive installations, particularly petroleum, oil and petroleum installations, whereby Iran would definitely attack, in the oil installations or energy installations in the neighboring countries, particularly. So the confidence has been shattered, and now it is being said that all this kind of money, the kind of activities that were taking place in Dubai, economic activities, where the money, legal or illegal, whatever you may call it, was stashed there, in various bank accounts, will now be shifted to some safe haven, either in Israel or the occupied territories in Gaza. What do you think about
What
that?
do you think? Israel is a safe haven for investors?
Well,
it has been for the last 80 years since its establishment. It has been in war with all its Gulf countries. So Israel is never a safe haven.
All right, okay. Short answers, please, Salik, because I have one more question to ask you, gentlemen.
The next destination could be Singapore. And maybe some other place, but not Israel, definitely.
Salik, your views?
I don't think so that it will be Israel. And as you have mentioned, the Dubai, has been disturbed much more than any other Gulf country. They have signed the Abraham Accord.
Okay, so
on that analogy, they should not have been affected by this.
Don't you think that they can be backstabbed, by Israel itself?
Yes.
No, so no, it's possible. Israel can backstab anybody,
Yes.
for its interests. It can jettison, anything. Or anybody, which it feels, is coming its way.
I think
there are reports that some of the missiles were fired by Israel and UAE.
Oh, well, but this is one of the theories, Yeah, Salik, please continue.
I think that as far as the present defense architecture is concerned, it has received serious blow.
No doubt about that. Yeah.
It has created, it has the leadership in the GCC countries has started thinking, moving to others, but they will not find. They will not find any other place. I tell you, as far as the United States will remain important, as I earlier said, and secondly, they have to, work on different options. From most expensive options to cheaper options of defense, for example. Instead of wholly depending on the United States and the West, they have to start thinking depending on the other regional countries. They should also start thinking over making Iran, their friend, and they should develop a relationship in such a way that it should not threat the GCC countries, and GCC countries should not threat Iran. So this is what a
short comment, please, because I have another question to ask you before we say goodbye.
Another dilemma which is going to come up after when Iran and US agree on a deal is who is going to pay the bill.
That's okay. That's a good
it is definitely going to be paid by the Gulf countries.
Gentlemen, perhaps the last question, before we say goodbye to each other. In Davos, January this year, Prime Minister Carney, he heralded the end of the old order, and he said that the world would be moving from multilateralism towards minilateralism. Now, how do you see that once the existing architecture has been dismantled and a new situation has arisen, do you think that multilateralism, that 2, 3, 4 countries, would be joining hands with each other, making some formal or informal alliances, in the Middle East particularly? And what would be the role of other emerging powers, in the world, particularly China and Russia? I would like to have your views.
In case there is any kind of militarism coming up after the dismantling of the multilateralism, definitely the two superpowers. Russia is now a bystander. So China and the United States. So one of these countries will have the back support of with this kind of agreements are passed.
Salik?
I think that there is not dismantling of the old architecture, not complete dismantling. There is a serious thinking over the existing system, yes, and in future, the influence of the United States and the other countries which were providing defense, protection to the GCC has dented. But it will remain in the short term and will continue the way they are doing it.
Final question, and short answers, please. How do you see Pakistan playing a role in the security of the Middle East in future?
Well,
Near future and distant future?
Pakistan has signed already a formal agreement of defense treaty or agreement, not cooperation with Saudi Arabia by deploying up its forces.
I would say that it is a very tough time for Pakistan. Pakistan should implement strict neutrality as far as its relation with the GCC and Iran are concerned. If we have to see in the long term, Iran is our neighbor and Iran is our friend. Similarly, Saudi Arabia is our friend. Other GCC countries where we have our diaspora are very important for us, including United Arab Emirates. And we have to have good relations with them to the extent that it should not. So as far as the defense pact or defense agreements are concerned, those should be done very carefully, and that should not,
So how should Pakistan,
I think currently Pakistan is moving. I think
how should Pakistan reconcile between neutrality and the defense arrangement we have with Saudi Arabia?
Currently, the way Pakistan is moving and maintaining its trust as well as its maintaining its neutrality
that
to
is
the
today.
extent
That is today.
I think in the future as well, they have to maintain that. We cannot, annoy our GCC brothers where we have millions of Pakistanis working. So that is there. There are problems. Problems do occur, but it does not mean that we should, we should go in such a way that we annoy Iran or any other region.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard the discussion. It was a wonderful, lovely discourse that we had today. The future situation still looks hazy. We do not really know as to how the things would shape up, as far as the security arrangements are concerned once this war has been completely over and Iran is allowed to embrace the international community, or the international community embraces Iran, into its fold, both politically as well as economically, as Iranian leadership has made it clear to their adversaries that they would like to be part of international economic system, international finance system, and they also want to be a part of international community. So let's see how the things will unfold, how the situation in the Middle East would look like, and how we will place ourselves into the new mosaic. Until then, it's Khuda Hafiz, and please do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.